Hello, and welcome to The Alt Left.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Alt Left. This is episode 92, and it's going to be a bit of a special one. Matt is taking a quick hiatus because of work and the holidays. The Reverend Dr. K is not here either. There's a lot going on, but I am here because I have no life, and with me is Jordan from the 805 podcast as well. Friend of the show. Say what's up, man.
Hey guys, it's awesome to be here. Thanks so much for having me on, Chris.
And in case you're listening to this on Jordan's Twitter, I'm a guest for Jordan at the 805 podcast from the Alt Left.
Hell yeah, love you guys.
So we're post election, and turns out the Dems did okay. What do you think?
Yeah, they eked by. They just squeaked by. It was definitely a blue tsunami, like everybody was talking about, right? And then we'll talk about the opposite half of that too, and how comical of a fact it was that there was no red wave either, and how Republicans just were whining and crying about it.
Well, it's all part of the game, you know. Like, I mean, that's kind of the thing because you heard Mitch McConnell come out, and he was like, when they were talking about the midterms, he's like, yes, that's the reason I should be leading the party, is because I'm the only one who didn't say there was going to be a red wave. I knew there wasn't going to be a red wave. Like, he predicted accurately, whereas every other pundit and, bullshit artists like Matt Gaetz and those out there were constantly swooning over this red wave that wasn't going to actually manifest. And I mean, there's precedent for it, right? Like, I mean, the fact is the Republicans should have kicked ass. They're 2 years into an incumbent president. The opposition always does really well. Like, they should have taken both houses. Like, if things went according to normal plan. I didn't know if they were going to. I am actually still surprised at how poorly they did. I thought they were going to do better than they did. I didn't think it was going to be this giant red wave. Like, the problem is the GOP is so ridiculously out of touch and unpopular. They make the Democrats seem like a viable option.
Oh, I know. What do you make of Nancy Pelosi stepping down and Hakeem Jeffries likely taking over?
I mean, I actually don't know much about Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, he's a capitalist.
Well, I'll tell you
that's
this.
about it.
He really hates the left.
Yeah. But that's who we're always going to get. Like, that's the thing, is you're never going to see even a left-leaning liberal take power in the DNC. Like, you're not even going to see, like, again, like, people like Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Ilhan Omar. These are people I hold up as my favorite Democrats, and that's like saying my favorite turds in the bowl. Like, these aren't people I admire or think are amazing. They're people I'm willing to settle for in positions of power, right?
Right.
Like, these are people who I am willing to give a vote to for damage control.
Right.
But the DNC isn't even interested in that.
No, but the squad is exactly who, like, he's talking about when he says that I don't want anything to do with the Democratic Socialist wave of the party. Because he's well aware of the split in the Democratic Party between people like the squad and then people like establishment corporate Democrats. He's well aware of that. And so he's just continuing Nancy Pelosi's bullshit legacy.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. In fact, he's even worse, because at least Nancy Pelosi gave lip service, right? Like, she was clearly an enemy of everyone on the squad, but at least she was like, oh, I'm so excited that young people are here and blah, blah, blah. She kind of did that, like, hello, fellow children. She pulled a Clinton where it was very obviously horseshit, but at least she paid lip service so that Democrats could sleep at night. And this guy's not even doing that, because as the Republican Party shifts to the right, it allows the Democratic Party to shift to the right and still be the opposition to it. So yeah, is it great that Nancy Pelosi's, not going to seek power as leader of the party anymore? Sure. But I'm not surprised that it's going to be someone even further right to her, because that's what they're going to do.
What about the runoff election that's going to be happening in Georgia between Warnock and Herschel Walker? I mean,
yeah.
The fact that was that close and we're having a runoff election, what the fuck?
Well, it's only going to give more fire to the far right and their election denial claims. Really, you're right. Like, that's one of the reasons I think they pushed so hard for the red wave, the big red wave, the red fucking tsunami. You're all gonna die. Jesus Christ is gonna come back and, fucking eat libs. Like, that's what we were promised, because then when that doesn't manifest, you can be like, see, we knew that was what's supposed to happen, but look, they frauded us. Like, it just makes it that much easier for delusional people to assume fraud if they make their claims that much bigger. You guarantee anything short of outright total victory is fuel for conspiracy theory nonsense.
Yeah, I would agree. What do you make of the election results?
I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, and it's one of those. I follow. This is where, like, I was able to be allies with libs for a minute, where they're like, oh yeah, fucking fuck the Republicans. Then it's like, when the Democrats win, everyone's like, yay, and I'm not happy about it. Like, if anything, and this is again an unpopular opinion, if anything, this has only made things worse. Because with the GOP winning things, right? It really displays how ugly and awful the far right is, and it kicks off people being willing to oppose it. Like, can you remember a time in our lifetimes? Like, yes, there are times in history, like the civil rights movement, but like in our lifetimes, there was no better time for mass activism than when Donald Trump was in office. And I told people, like, when he was running against Biden, I was like, oh, Biden's gonna win. I was like, you watch. And I said this on the podcast, people can go back and listen. When Biden's in office, everyone's gonna shut the fuck up and go back home. Nothing's going to get accomplished. And here we are. No one fucking cares. There's no mass protests in the street. There's no mass labor strikes. There's no one's throwing rocks at cops. Like, nothing's happening. Nothing.
No, the biggest protests in the world that are happening right now are in the most authoritarian regimes. They're in China
Uh-huh.
and in Iran.
Yeah, like, look at Iran. Do you think if moderation was winning the day, that people would be willing to risk their lives against the morality police in Iran? No. People are willing to get hardcore because the oppression is hardcore. And with the Democrats, the oppression is almost palatable, right? It's, sure, we're still blowing up people in Yemen. Sure, Joe Biden killed more children in Afghanistan than George Bush did and Barack Obama combined, because he starved children by pulling all the money out of the country. Like, sure, we have a credible rapist in office again. At least he's not mean on Twitter. Like, that's what we're getting. It's like, again, I've said this on the cast a million times. Fucking Donald Trump was a better COVID president than Biden ever was. The handful of decent things the Trump administration did, and it is only a handful, he walked back. Like, Trump dumped money into putting out a COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
Joe Biden refused to make it available to the world, so that Pfizer could profit from it, even though Trump publicly funded it. Trump put out, fucking stimulus money to help people get through. Biden completely cut it off. Like, the handful of couple things he did, Biden pulled back. Like, he's done nothing. He hasn't given a shit. All he's wanted to do is open up and get people killed. He hasn't done shit about war. The only war he helped pull out from was Afghanistan, which Trump kicked off. And then when he did it in the most inhumane way possible, by bankrupting the nation so they would all starve in a famine. Like, he's just the fucking worst. And because he's not an outright screaming lunatic, everyone wants to get on board. They, oh, Dark Brandon, he's so fucking cool. He's a piece of shit. He's a fucking rapey old man. His stimulus package to get rid of student debt. He's the reason you can't declare bankruptcy on it. Like, do you not get that?
There were fucking people with signs that said, "Thank you, Mr. Biden, for canceling student debt." I'm like,
Yeah.
are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, like, he orchestrated it. It's like someone punching you in the face and then handing you a Band-Aid. You're like, oh my God, where would I be without you, bro? Like,
Why is it every time in this country a politician gives us the absolute bare minimum, our citizens just bend over backwards and they're like, "Thank you so much." And I think it's just partly I think it's because we're just so fucked. Like, it's just generations of people just getting screwed over by politicians, and so we're not used to at all government being able to be of service to us whatsoever. So when it finally happens, people are just like, "Whoa." And then otherwise, I I think it's just, flat out, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. But that's the thing is Joe Biden is palatable oppression. And that's really where it comes down to is people will take a lot. I mean, again, look at like Antebellum South, right? I mean, like why? How, people look at like how come the house slaves didn't fucking revolt as much and shit like that? It's like first of all, some did. I mean, it's actually really whitewashed out of history how many fucking house slaves poisoned the shit out of their fucking slave owners. But like also like the head house slaves who kept everyone else in line, it's like, yeah, because their oppression was palatable. They were given comfort, they were given privileges, they were given better food, they were given nicer clothes, they were given the ability to learn things. Like, so therefore, even though they were fucking slaves and their lives were owned, they were able to lie to themselves and think that they had it better. Same as like poor whites in the South at that time. It was literally they were always being told, well, at least you're not a slave. Like, yeah, but I'm starving to death. Yes, but at least you're not black. And that's the same thing. It's that you got to look at that other. That's how Hitler rose. He's like, well, as bad as it is, at least we're going to make Germany great again. At least you're not one of those Jews. You're not one of those communists. You're not one of those homosexuals. Like, you can always find an other to compare your chosen people to. And that brings comfort. And you can, if you make oppression slightly, even just the slightest bit palatable, people will suck it up and take it. People want comfort. And it makes sense. We're mammals, man. I mean, we evolved out of caves and we want to seek pleasure and avoid pain. It makes sense. And I get why people aren't willing to risk things and risk livelihoods because it's not that bad. And the idea of like, well, if I go out and do this thing, I could go to jail. I get in trouble. I get shot. I get injured. I get hurt. And none of those things will happen to me if I stay home. And it's human, and I get it. I don't even hate people for it. Like, I totally get it. Like,
Makes sense.
I'm one of the nut jobs who doesn't agree with that, but like, I recognize that I am in the vast minority. But by keeping Democrats in power, that's what we get: is we season our oppression to our liking, and so it doesn't taste as bitter in our mouths anymore. And so when I see Democrats have these sweeping victories, I'm not filled with joy at all because all you've done is delay the inevitable, right? All you've done is slow down the march towards any kind of actual leftist revolution we could possibly have in this country, whether violent or political or cultural or any kind. Again, I'm not even talking about it has to involve guns. It will, but even if it didn't, like a cultural revolution would be amazing. Can you imagine if American workers actually achieved class consciousness, like what's going on at Starbucks? Can you imagine if that was across the board in all American workforces? Shit would change overnight.
Dude, I
That would
want
be
fucking
amazing.
quitter workers right now to start a union.
Yes. Like, the thing is, we look at what Elon Musk is doing, and like, no one is like thinking about unionizing or like that class consciousness of that business. They're just like, oh, stupid ass Elon, ha ha. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I'm here to laugh at Elon. Fuck that guy. But let's also think of the people who have like how many thousands of people are losing their livelihoods because of this, and with no safety net.
He just fucking sends an email, his first email, no remote work.
Yep. And he was firing people with a meme. Like literally, he was having HR send them a meme of his face laughing, saying you're fired. To all the people he laid off. It was just like, and it was like people like who weren't even pissing him off. He just wanted to be a prick because he's just a fucking selfish little boy. That's all he's ever been. He is a 9-year-old with his daddy's money. That's all he is. And he's a petty bitch. But anyway, back to the topic. The Democrats winning doesn't bring me joy for that reason because it is only prolonging the inevitable. And one could say, well, isn't that a good thing? Don't we want to slow down where people could get hurt? But it's like, that's a very privileged white idea, right? Like to say like, well, slowing down the inevitable is a good thing because then people get hurt. It's like, well, then who are people to you? Because people of color are being hurt. Queer people are being hurt. Women are being hurt. Poor people are being hurt. The unhoused are being hurt. Immigrants are being hurt. The only people who aren't being hurt are people who look like you and me, Jordan.
Yep.
And so that privileged stance of, well, we want to slow down. No, we fucking don't, because there's fucking black people dying in prison over shit that Joe Biden put them in for. Kamala Harris loves killing trans people in prison. She thinks that's fucking great. That's who we have as a VP.
You know what one of my favorite terms is? Progressive prosecutor.
Ooh, I love that. That's fantastic. Vegetarian alligator.
Yeah, what a paradox, right?
Progressive prosecutor. God, that has got not all cops mentality. That is just disgusting.
I might do a whole podcast episode on that.
Oh, you should invite me on for that one. I want to be part of that fucking panel.
No, but going back to Biden and Trump, something that I was thinking about too is Trump is going to run again, right, in 2024. I think he's going to run on stopping the money train to Ukraine. And our good friend Pat actually,
Oh, that's going to be hard for the broken clock twice a day thing, man. Ouch.
our good friend Pat from Trickle Down Socialism actually tweeted about that, and he was like, "Fuck, I hate that. I like that idea. Like, I don't agree with Trump, but I like that he would run on that, because that would be a popular thing to do."
It's a good, okay, and of course, I mean, I'm sure you've heard about the missile, and now it's suddenly getting out of the news again. A fucking Russian missile goes into Poland, and Biden's like, oh, I gotta call an emergency NATO meeting. Finally, we go to war. And it's like, oh, the missile was probably fired from the Ukrainians. All right, let's all just shut up. And it was like there was even like they were even showing on the news like the fucking Secretary General of the UN saying like, it's like when the Russian missile is like, well, a Russian missile fired and killed civilians. This is a war crime. This can't be allowed, no matter what the cause. And then Ukraine, it turns out it's Ukrainian goes, well, the Russians are still to blame because they started the war. It's like it's such obvious fucking propaganda. And it's like we've already forgotten that. Remember the train station that the Russians blew up? The train station, it was a subway station or a train station that was being used as a shelter, and the Russians blew it up, and it was, a big war crime. This is going to get NATO on. And it's, oh no, the Ukrainians actually blew it up, and then all of a sudden everyone shut the fuck up and moved on. It's like, it's just insane.
All these memes that were going around from the hurricane victims in Florida, they were like, can we just change the name of the hurricane from Ian to Ukraine so that we can get some aid?
Yeah, we got billions for the war machine in Ukraine. Nothing for people in the South who were affected. It just blows me away. I don't know what to say. Like, it's just, anytime I see again, we're here to dunk on libs today, and it's the most ridiculous lib movement. Liberals will be the first ones to say, I'm anti-war, I'm anti-imperialism, blah, blah, blah. And then they're fucking holding up Ukrainian flags and screaming death to Russians. Like, it's, pro-NATO. It makes absolutely no sense. It's such a contradiction. This is why I fucking hate liberals.
I argue with liberals far more than I do with conservatives.
Well, yeah, because conservatives don't expect you to be on their side.
Right. Like, it doesn't take very long at all, for somebody on the right to figure out, oh, fuck, we don't agree on anything. But somebody that's more like a mainstream Democrat or a liberal, like, you'll be able to talk to them longer, but then you'll have severe disagreements on specific policies, and then you'll just want to rip your hair out of your head.
Yeah, cool, because that's what it comes down to is you'll get a right winger, and they'll sit there and tell you how, I just think we should kill all the gay people, and you're like, oh, I think that's a terrible idea. I think you're far more likely to get hurt in church. And they'll be like, oh, well, this is terrible. Bye. And you're just a sheeple and fuck you. And then the conversation's over, right? Whereas with a liberal, they'll be like, yeah, you're right. Gay brunch is awesome. But anyway, let's kill people in Ukraine. Why aren't you on board with this? Liberals will be the first ones to proclaim peace and then in the same breath defend vicious imperialism. Yeah, there's I forgot who said it. It's not an old saying, but it's something I read a while ago, and it's always rung true with the difference of conservatives and liberals is that, a conservative wants a homeless gay person to die because they're gay, and a liberal wants a homeless gay person to die because they're homeless. And that's the difference. It's that meme of Pete Buttigieg is this rainbow painted anti-homeless rock.
Speaking of rich pieces of shits, I heard that Rick Caruso lost in LA.
He did. So for those of you who aren't in California, especially Los Angeles, which Jordan's not, but I am, but he's in the neighboring county, so it still hit his radar. In Los Angeles, we had a race for mayor, and there was a guy named Caruso, and he's been a Democrat for like 10 minutes. He's been a lifelong Republican. He's a billionaire. And he spent, God, he was something like, what was it? It was just shy of $200 million on advertising of his own money.
They fucked on.
Yeah. And it was funny. His ads were hilarious because he kept trying to like appeal to Democrats without actually promising anything. One of these things was like, one of the things I'm going to do with is deal with the homeless problem in Los Angeles. And then he just moved on. It was like, by feeding people or mulching them? Like, which one is it going to be, dude? Like, there's just never an answer. It's just like, it'll be dealt with. And it's like, that's vague and a little terrifying.
Yeah, thankfully that didn't happen.
Yeah, but he lost barely, and he did not lose, and the actual lib won. So there's that, I guess. But again, what do we get? So great, we have a Democratic mayor in Los Angeles, a city with the highest homeless population in the country, right? California has the highest population. LA has the highest homeless population in California. And what are the Democrats going to do about it? Because they haven't done shit. Like, we love to blame Reagan for it, and rightfully so, because fuck Ronald Reagan. And if something's wrong, it's probably Reagan's fault. But what have the Democrats done since? You know, it's the same thing with the Roe v. Wade thing. It's like, yeah, the Supreme Court tore down Roe v. Wade, and that's horseshit, and that's awful, that's terrible. But where the fuck have the Democrats been? They've been holding, I mean, God, during the Clinton years, they held all three branches of government.
What are we gonna do? We don't have the votes.
Yeah, like, they held all three branches of government and refused to codify a woman's right to be a human being.
Nope, because
Like, they couldn't even grow the balls to say women have rights over their bodies.
no, because it's an election tool.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a fundraising tool and an election tool. And they were more than happy to gamble 51% of the population's right to body autonomy and hold it as a carrot just so they can fight Republicans on it. And the GOP's the same way. Like, I actually think a lot of GOP people are going to be, well, no, this is a win. Actually, I'm going to take that back, because this is a win for the GOP, because they can say they've won it. And now they're going to fundraise on, we got to keep it because the Democrats are coming for it. And then if Roe v. Wade becomes law again, one day, who knows, then they'll be able to say, look, the fucking woke agenda is coming for, I don't know, your right to not have a baby. I mean, let's be fair. These are Christian nationalists. Their entire religion is based around sexual assault. You know, I mean, literally. I mean, read the Bible. It's basically an angel shows up and was like, "Good news! You're carrying a child without your consent."
And slavery is in the Bible.
Incest is in the Bible. Slavery is in the Bible. And the Bible literally tells you how much you can sell your daughter for. It tells you when you're allowed to bang your slaves. The Bible justifies fucking anything. It is one of the worst and most disgusting books ever written. I've read it multiple times, cover to cover. It is a horrifying read. There's like 4 books right in the middle about this groovy carpenter that shows up. And he's like, hey, maybe don't be a dick. And then they nail him to a cross and start being a dick again. That's it. There's your Bible. God's a prick all the time. Then this cool guy shows up. Then he dies and everyone's a prick again. That's it. That's the Bible.
Yep.
Or you can go with the Torah and leave out the New Testament and just, God's a dick, but one day it'll be better. Or you can go with the Quran. God was a dick. Then this guy came along, but he wasn't actually the son of God. But listen to me, because I'm a dick too. It's just, there is no Western theology that isn't just absolutely rooted in awfulness.
Yep.
But yeah, the Democrats and the liberals will always, I mean, again, it's a point I like to point out. I was actually talking with a couple of libs at work the other day. You know, we were talking about like, well, I just don't condone violence and this kind of thing and blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, and you fucking tree huggers were around and liberals were in power when Germany fell to Nazis. Because liberals were crying about freedom of speech and embracing all points of view, and, you know, we got to get out of this crisis no matter what, and we'll listen to anyone. Like, you know, it was all these liberal mentalities. That's what created Nazi Germany.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
Malcolm X warned explicitly about the white liberal.
Yeah, so did Martin Luther King.
Yep.
They both did. I mean, that's one of the things they agreed on, was that the white liberal is more dangerous than the Klansman.
Just favor civility and order over any kind of temporary disruption of the status quo.
Yeah, X warned about they all they wanted was civility, and then it was Martin Luther King who said the white liberal will tell you they agree with you in spirit, but want your liberation to come at a more convenient time.
And nothing ever changes. 2 years ago, it's, I was with BLM until they started breaking windows.
God forbid there could not property damn. Won't somebody think of the private property?
No, the police station.
Yeah, I mean, we literally here in Los Angeles, we literally had an LAPD officer who was investigating a rape charge against other police officers get gunned down by the cops he was investigating during a training accident. That happened last month, and just nope, out of the news. Who cares? Save Ukraine. Like nobody wants to deal with the actual monster at the doorstep. It's one of the things I think the appeal of Ukraine is. I think for liberals at least it gets to be like this. Well, yes, there was an insurrection of fascists, and yes, this awful shit is happening, the country's falling apart, but honestly I'd really rather just blame it on Putin and send money.
I'm tired of Ukraine and January 6th.
Yeah, and it's funny, and another take, a hot take I have that people don't like is they're like, well, there was an insurrection and people stormed the Capitol. It's like, I'm not opposed to that.
No, I'm opposed
I
to the
don't.
reason.
Yes, it is. I don't like who stormed the Capitol. I don't like why they did. But let me tell you something. People stormed the Capitol to demand health care for the American people. Burn that bitch down. I'm in full support.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I, I am I am not against an insurrection. I'm against a fascist uprising.
Yeah, to keep a dictatorship in power.
Yeah, but let me tell you, had the January 6th event been leftists storming the Capitol to demand an end to crushing debt and healthcare during a pandemic, the Democrats would be just as fervently opposed to it. The January 6th hearings would absolutely be continuing, and they would be just as opposed to it than the Republicans.
Oh,
It would
yeah,
be the
and we
same
would have
story.
been gunned down before we got within a mile of the Capitol.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reason the cops didn't shoot the January 6th protesters is because those were just the off-duty cops. Like, it's the same people. I mean, there was I mean, again, if anybody is at all politically active, go to any politicking event that's in the streets, and you will see every single time the police line up to quote unquote keep the peace between the protesters and counter protesters, and they will always turn their backs to the right wingers and their weapons towards the left side. Every time.
I
They
heard
will
you
literally
talking. I heard you
yeah,
talking about that before on a podcast when you interviewed the cop.
yeah, and it happens every time. It happens every time. Every time I've gone out, it is always their backs are to the fascists because they're the one and the same. They know nothing's going to happen to them there, and they are here to put down any kind of left resistance. How it is every time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I got tear gassed and rubber bullets shot at in Tahunga, opposing a fascist rally. Again, the cops defended them, and there were guys who were waving guns around. Like there was literally armed Trumpsters, and the cops were turning their backs to them and facing us, unarmed leftist protesters, and we got pepper sprayed and shot at. Not pepper sprayed, tear gas. They launched tear gas canisters at us and shot us with rubber bullets because we were on the other side of the street saying genocide is wrong.
That checks out.
Yeah. And that's why fuck all cops and ACAB and even your friends and family members who are cops can go get fucked. They are on the wrong side of the history at all turns. There is no such thing as a cop who does the right thing because they woke up that morning and decided to put that uniform on. And they can stop anytime they want.
There's so many people even on the left that say like, oh, well, we shouldn't be saying defund the police because that's going to dissuade people. I'm like, dude, fuck that. Defund the police is a middle ground ass position.
Right? Like, send him to the fucking moon is mine. Like, defunding is, again, it's like when people are like, well, you love Bernie. I was like, no, I'm willing to settle for Bernie.
Right.
He is the olive branch I will allow. That's what will.
Bernie's a fucking centrist.
Yeah. Like, someone like him is the thing that will stop me from wanting to armed revolutionize the country. Like, that's the olive branch I will take.
Yeah, Joe Biden is right wing.
He is. I mean, remember, he had that speech on the longer where he was like, defund the police. I say fund the police. And it's like, you listen to a Joe Biden speech, and I've said this before too. This is an old hat. Like, listen to a Joe Biden speech and don't think about who it is. It sounds like a Republican speech every single time. He's like, fund the police. We need to, help business. We need to grow the economy at all costs, and God bless our fucking troops. Every single speech of his.
Yep. Does sound just like a standard Republican.
Yeah. Again, close your fucking eyes and just listen to Joe Biden speak and tell me it doesn't sound like George W. Bush or George Bush Sr. or Reagan.
And I knew he was going to govern like this. I didn't fucking vote for the guy. I wasn't going to. I couldn't.
Dude, this guy helped write the 3 strikes law. This guy made it illegal for you to declare bankruptcy on student loan debt. This guy decided to take it upon himself to destroy the career and life of a woman for speaking out against sexual assault. Like, what he did to Anita Hill is unconscionable. And again, he didn't even have to. He chose to. He was a senator and he led the charge to fucking ruin her life.
And that's not talked about nearly enough.
No, it's not. Joe Biden is a piece of shit. He is a misogynist and he's a racist. You know, remember this guy who's opposed buses so that schools weren't turned into, remember that word? Racial jungles?
What was his good buddy, Storm Thurmond?
Yep, yeah, super good buddies with Strom Thurmond. You know, the guy who wanted to bring the South back and resurrect the Confederacy.
Yeah, really cool dude.
Yeah, those are Joe Biden's buddies.
But he's changed.
But that's all liberals want. Liberals want happiness. Liberals want security. They want safety. They want normality. And that's why you see this push for Democrats. Is because Democrats, although everything will be terrible, at least it'll be the terrible you know. And it won't change much. And it'll be slow. And society slowly eroding and destroying everything about your life will come at a very slow snail's pace. So slow, if you don't pay attention, you might not even notice it all the time. Like, that's what they bring. That's what the DNC brings to the table, is they bring Joe Biden oppression. Someone you can make memes about and pretend he's woke, pretend he's left, pretend he gives a shit about you. He doesn't. He stands for the same fucking corporate, monopolistic, imperial fucking masters that the GOP does. It's the same shit. The GOP and the DNC have the same masters. They bow to the same banking interests, the same Wall Street interests, and the exact same private prison industry and war machines. The only difference is who they have to appeal to get votes. And the Republicans simp for the Christian nationalists, and the Democrats simp for the desperately scared and terrified liberal cowards who just want brunch back.
Very well said, my friend.
All right, so I've been monologuing. Dunk on some liberals for me, Jordan. Hit me. Give me your best shit take on shit libs.
They're just really fucking annoying, man. I don't really know what else to say that we haven't covered much.
We're gonna put that on your gravestone. When you die, here lies Jordan. He always felt that liberals were really fucking annoying, man.
I'm a big fan of the movie The Big Lebowski. That's just
God,
like
it's a great
your
flick.
opinion, man.
Say what you want about fascism, at least it's an ethos.
I take it you're familiar with the film, right?
I can damn near quote it. Yep.
When he's talking to the sheriff in Malibu.
And he hits him with a cup. Fucking fascist.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like there's just such a large segment of the country that just wants to continue the Clinton years so bad.
Yeah. And that is what they want. Democrats want Clinton back. Democrats look at Clinton like Republicans look at Reagan.
Totally.
I think that's going to be Obama, though. Like, I think Obama's going to be the next Clinton. It's going to be the next Democratic paragon ideal.
The fucking stupid bullshit that people used to say back in the day that Clinton is the first black president.
Oh yeah, they used to say that all the time. Like, well, he's from the South, and you like white women with a big booty. And it was just like, oh my god, like I'm so surprised there wasn't just like watermelon jokes. It was like the idea of that was so ridiculously dog whistly racist. And like it's the same thing as the right's doing that now with Elon Musk. You know, they kept congratulating us. Oh, look at this African American buying a business, and it was like, and it was just there to make the pun. It's always that same shit argument, you know. It exists just so you can be like, why are you opposed to African Americans doing things?
Let's shit on Obama for a bit.
I'm down to shit on Obama. You mean the guy who expanded the drone program and committed more assassinations than any president in U.S. history?
Yeah, that guy.
Or do you mean the guy who committed more deportations than any president in U.S. history, beating both George W. Bush and Trump combined?
And the one that gave us Trump. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Oh, and you mean the guy who campaigned on promising to close Guantanamo Bay, the illegal offshore torture prison that the United States kept, where we seriously still have hundreds of prisoners of war that we've never charged with a crime?
Yep, that guy.
Or do you mean the guy who built the border detention facilities where he put kids in cages?
Yep, we're talking
Yeah.
about that guy, Obama.
Just curious which shit lib version of him. Yeah, I'll dunk on Obama all day long. He is an absolute garbage person. And remember, in this last election, when we had just the damn near unelectable Biden up there, he was the one who came out and said, fuck your purity politics. Just vote for Democrats, stupid bitches.
Oh yeah, and he's the one that made all the background calls to sabotage Bernie.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. I mean, it was such an obvious hit from the DNC to take up Bernie. That's no reason Biden didn't even want to be president. He was retired and happy. They literally wheeled him out and forced him to run so they could beat Bernie.
So they're just such hypocrites in a lot of ways. But one of the biggest ways that they're hypocrites is just the fact that they're constantly saying that the Republicans, well, they have to cheat to win. Well, so do the fucking Dems. They have to cheat out members of their own party.
Mm-hmm. And it's an old story. They've been doing it since time immemorial. I mean, they did that under the Roosevelt years with Wallace. If anybody wants to look up the Wallace campaign for the Democrats in the 20s. He was a pro-socialist Democrat, kind of a lot like Bernie. And he actually, one of his big stances was, why the fuck are we in a Cold War with Russia? This is stupid. We were allies in the war. Why don't we just continue being allies? They can do their thing, we can do our thing, and let's just trade with each other and boost everyone's both sides' economy. And he was literally drowned out. He's a fucking communist. Kill him! Like, it was just because the guy didn't want to go into a ridiculous, protracted war with the other nuclear capable country on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, nothing has really changed.
Yeah, the Democrats love to call themselves anti-war, but they're not. And the second someone's actually anti-imperialism and anti-war, they fucking nail them to a cross every time.
They're anti-war when it's our allies.
You know, and my favorite thing is, like, the Republicans will be crazy anti-Semitic all the time, right? They will, I mean, again, because they're fucking Nazis. I mean, these people march with tiki torches and say Jews will not replace us, right? Everything's dog whistled with global elitists, when that's just another fucking dog whistle for Jews. And then the second, like, someone like Ilhan Omar comes out and says, hey, by the way, Israel's a dangerous apartheid state, and what they do is actually horrible, and they're committing a genocide. The Republicans like, why do you hate Jews? And the Democrats do nothing about it.
Nope. They spread it. Matter of fact, they perpetuate it. You just hate Jews. You just hate Israel.
Yeah, and again, the weird relationship between the two makes no sense to me. Again, the Republican Party actually is anti-Semitic, and yet they will defend Israel to the death. I mean, obviously it's a funding thing, but even like you have like Trump, he's like, "Oh, I'm moving the consulate to Jerusalem," which was a huge slap in the face.
And he hasn't changed that, right?
Nope. Yeah, remember, like, fucking Biden came out and said he was going to roll back all these stupid bullshit measures that Trump did. Hasn't changed that one bit. So it's clearly okay with him.
He's fucking diet Trump. He really is.
I mean, is he even diet, or is he just controlled? Is he just better at Twitter? Does he have better handlers and he actually listens to them?
Yeah. I don't all his statements that come out, I don't believe most of the time that he writes them.
No, he's just it's almost like, imagine Trump wasn't a total fucking moron. That's Joe Biden.
Well, that's what I think DeSantis is.
DeSantis is pretty fucking stupid too.
Really?
I think I think he's smarter than Trump, but I mean,
yeah, the bar's pretty fucking low, man.
The bar's on the floor, man. Like, that's not saying much. Like, I don't actually think DeSantis is intelligent at all.
Yeah, maybe I don't think he's intelligent, but I think he's at least a crafty politician.
I think he is smart enough to listen to crafty politicians. You know, very George W. Bush, like an idiot, but smart enough to at least know that he should let them put his hand up her ass and move his mouth once in a while for him. But I mean, even DeSantis is pretty. I mean, he was election denying, and now he's going to oppose Trump. But like, let's not forget, he was kissing the fucking ring when Trump was in office.
Oh yeah.
That's the part that always fucking cracks me up. Is like, he's going to come out and he's going to campaign on. Well, I fought Trump and I'm fighting him. I oppose him. Blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, he literally supported everything he did.
Yeah, and
all the time.
Trump's popularity has really gone away because his election denial bullshit that he keeps on continuing. If he would just back away from that, I think his popularity would go back up. And if we were talking about an election right now in November of 2022, I actually think that Trump would have a good chance of beating Biden.
I actually don't. Trump has fashed too close to the sun. That's the problem. Is he was too hardcore and too stupid, and you can't be both of those things. You can be one or the other. Bush succeeded by being stupid, but he wasn't that hardcore. He was milquetoast. He was mild. He always said that, hey, I'm a nice guy. I just don't know what I'm doing. Like he had that thing where even though he was a total fucking moron, he also wasn't out there going like, maybe we should, I don't know, kill all black people. Like he wasn't doing anything like that. If somebody asked him what his favorite part of the Bible is, he'd actually be able to bust you out a quote, like it was shit like that where it's like when the things he said he believed in, he actually did. And so there was an article of genuinism about him. Genuinism, is that a word? I don't know. There was a genuine side to his rhetoric. And again, he listened to his handlers. You wouldn't ever catch George W. Bush going off script for too long because he'd derail right away, and you could always see it happen. He'd be out there and he'd be giving a normal speech, and then he would kind of start to ad lib, and he'd be like, and I just never understood how trains work. But anyway, the GDP of Israel this year is, it's like you could see him, but he would snap back to the teleprompter, and Trump doesn't do that. We saw this on his running speech where he just went up there and just verbally shat all over the place for what, like forever. His speech was so long and boring and rambly that Fox News cut away from it because it was unfucking watchable. And that is Trump's downfall, is he's actually too much of a fucking idiot to get out of his own way. He will listen to no one. He will never stay on a script. And that was cute in the beginning when he first ran. That was part of his appeal to those people, was like, oh, look at this guy. He's off script. He's a fucking maverick. He's doing his own thing. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't listen to shit. And that's my fantasy for myself. I wish I wasn't a stupid little bitch who listened to everything people around me said. I want to be like that. That's great. And that was his appeal. But now it's old. Now it's just like, oh, you're just a fucking dumbass old man. Like even the right wing is like, oh, this guy. Like every time he does anything, every Republican politician rolls their eyes. And he goes, oh, fuck, how do I spin this that I still like this piece of shit? Everyone fucking hates him. Even half the Republican voters fucking hate him now. So, no, Trump versus Biden, not going to happen. But I don't think Trump will make the primaries. I think he'll get stomped by DeSantis. And one of two things is going to happen. Either A, he's just going to take the L and go home and cry forever, in which case that's great. I just wish I could watch that. I would like pay pay-per-view money to watch Trump sit around and be really sad. Or he'll run third party, which would absolutely tank the Republican Party, which would be great.
that would actually be kind of awesome.
Yeah, he would either be sad and alone, or he'd be sad and alone after destroying the GOP. One of those is better than the other, but I'll take either one. But yeah, no, I don't believe for a second he could ever beat Biden. Not because Biden's likable or Biden's good. Like the only thing that makes Biden electable is he's not Trump.
And the election in 2020 was actually relatively close.
Yeah, and the thing is, they really fucked up because obviously the plan was to run Biden-Harris and then make everyone like Harris enough that they would run her in 2024. Because he came out and said, I'm only doing this one time. And I think it's because he doesn't want to be there anymore. He's fucking old and he's tired.
Right. And
he just wants to go home and hang out with his fucking dog.
Just watch reruns of the Golden Girls.
And Matlock. Yeah, that's what he wants to do. It's literally just grandpa who needs a nap is running the country. And he just wants to go back to his fucking nap. He really is. He's a perfect Democrat. He's a perfect Democratic fucking symbol. He just wants to be left alone. He doesn't actually care. because of that, he's not going to win against DeSantis or anything like that. But the problem is they never made Harris likable because she's not.
Nope.
Like
She's
the
very
left
much
doesn't.
she's very much the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, again, she's not likable. She has no charisma whatsoever. She's not like kind. It's all like, at least, like, I'll give you this. I don't like fucking Joe Biden, but there is an appeal to him, like wearing sunglasses and eating an ice cream cone and driving a convertible and telling Trump to shut up. Like, there are things about Joe Biden and
That
his
are at least
personality.
likable. Yeah.
Yeah, they can be like, okay, that's not so bad. Every once in a while, your racist old grandpa says something funny. Fine. Kamala Harris is just awful. She's just shitty all the time. She just sucks. She has no redeemable or likable qualities.
She works really hard on just like showing her shoes off.
Yeah, and that's it. She doesn't do anything. Like even her fucking the people who are running her outreach suck. Like she just has no one. Like again, AOC. What does AOC have? She literally acts like a fucking Gen Zer, right? AOC is I don't even think she is a Gen Zer. AOC's a millennial. AOC's a millennial who acts like a Gen Zer, right? Like so when she does her fucking she's on TikTok, she's on fucking Insta stories, like she's on Twitter. She makes Twitter videos where she literally puts the phone by her feet and eats a sandwich and talks to you. And that's a Gen Z fucking move. And she does it for a reason. That's calculated. She's not doing that because that's who she is. She's doing it because she was smart and she hired a bunch of fucking interns who know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they taught her how to fucking appeal to people. It was the same thing that Bush did. They were like, hey, you really need to talk about Jesus and how much you like drinking a cold six pack on your ranch. Republican voters love that shit. And they're telling AOC the same thing. Like, look, dude, you're never going to get the old Democrats. Your only chance here is to stick with younger Democrats. And younger Democrats want to see you eating a fucking sandwich and casting something from your iPhone, not a professional camera. And that's what she does. And it's smart. It's really smart. But you don't see Kamala Harris doing anything like that. She is just Hillary Clinton 2.0 because of the same person.
Yeah, and I'm actually so glad that Hillary Clinton was not elected president.
Oh, I called it when they were in the election. I was like, if Hillary is president, it's going to be worse than Trump because Trump is such an unhinged fucking dipshit that the Joint Chiefs of Staff won't let him do shit. They would absolutely let Hillary launch nukes.
Oh yeah, and we would have had another decade and a half, if not 20 years more of neoliberal bullshit.
I guarantee if Hillary Clinton had been president, we would currently be at war with Iran and Russia.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Like, hands down, we would be in an Iranian war.
Yeah, I could very well see it.
I find it interesting that the Iranian Revolution is being televised so much and shown so much right when they are signing their economic trade deals for Belt and Road with China. Like they are joining the Russian Chinese economic alliance, and we're not getting our hands on that oil. And all of a sudden, now America is all about getting rid of the Ayatollah.
Yeah, funny how much you hear about the Foxconn protests and the protests in Iran, but you don't hear shit on the mainstream media about all the unionizing efforts across the country in the
Right?
U.S.
We're living in a beautiful golden age of reunionizing, right? And I don't even say golden age because it hasn't actually happened yet, but the promise of a golden age. Again, like what's going on at Starbucks is huge. Are you seeing it on any mainstream? Nope. You have to get onto fucking Insta, you have to get onto Snapchat, you have to get on TikTok. Like you will, and if you want to see it on a news network, it's going to be like Young Turks or Vice. Right?
Yeah,
Like you are not going to see this on NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox. Like, nope, CNN, MSNBC, none of them. No one is going to talk about how fucking one by one the Starbucks stores are fucking unionizing.
yeah, absolutely.
What we need is Amazon.
Yeah, we need some fucking bigger companies too, like Amazon, like Target.
Oh, did you catch Jeff Bezos making the statement that he's going to donate all of his money before he dies and then immediately lays off like 10,000 workers?
No, I didn't.
Yes, he pre-softened the blow. He made some statements saying, I'm going to give away almost my entire, $12 billion fortune before I die to charity. And everyone's like, oh, that's so sweet. And then like yesterday, he laid off 10,000 workers.
Was it you, Chris, that said on a recent episode that if Bezos could legally own slaves, that he would?
Yes, and that was me, and I still stand by that. Well,
It's 100.
okay,
I agree with you. I think that's true.
yeah, but so would Musk. Well, okay, to be fair, Elon Musk does own slaves. Like Elon Musk and his family actually do own slaves
Yeah.
in South Africa.
Hmm.
But yes, Bezos would absolutely succumb to slavery. It actually blows me away that Amazon hasn't tapped into the prison labor market.
That we know of.
To be fair, yeah, it's true. They could be doing the flyers, they could be doing the T-shirts, they could be doing all kinds of stuff. Like, I just mean their fulfillment centers. I'm actually surprised they're not building them in the South and doing convict leasing. I'm really surprised.
Yeah, me too. Actually,
Convicts can't unionize. Nobody cares if they die. Like, it's a gold mine. I'm really surprised. Like, and Amazon is so entrenched in our society now that like there is no amount of bad press that will hurt them.
right. One of my one of my favorite movies of all time is Sorry to Bother You, and I think that that's loosely based on the direction of Amazon. Did you ever see that
I
movie?
actually don't. I never saw that one.
Okay. I don't want to give too much away, and definitely, if you're listening out there, put it on your queue. Director is Boots Riley. He's this badass hip hop musician.
Boots Riley's dope.
Yeah, he produced it and directed it. Basically, it's this it's like futuristic Oakland, and there's this company that promises like guaranteed housing and lifetime employment, but it's just neo slavery. And a lot
I
of
mean, Amazon has talked about having like fucking company towns.
yeah, that's essentially where they're going.
Yeah,
And then a bunch of just really fucked up shit happens related to like late stage capitalism.
that sounds legit. I'd actually check that out, but that's where we're headed.
It's been described. It's kind of trippy too. It's been described as Get Out on acid.
All right. I mean, Don't Look Up, right, was kind of heralded as this. I mean, obviously it was about global
Don't
warming,
Look
but
Up
did you
is a
see Don't Look Up?
documentary.
Right. And the thing is, I find it so funny is everyone associates that with the GOP, and I was like, that's the DNC.
Yeah,
Like the GOP would have come out and said the asteroid's full of communist Jews. Like, no, the DNC is Don't Look Up. Go back to your brunch. Everything's going to be okay. Don't think about it. Like, that's a Democratic president in Don't Look Up.
I know. Why there's so many people that are like still convinced that liberals and Democrats are just so much better. They're gonna be just like the healing force in society that everybody needs.
The thing is both Republicans and Democrats need that fantasy. Like this dark Brandon thing of how Joe Biden's gonna kill all the police officer and grind them up and make a communism machine. Like that sounds great. I wish that were true. That would be dope. Fucking based as shit. But the GOP needs that fantasy to be real to fundraise against. And the DNC needs that so that Democrats will make memes and almost kind of believe it. And they'll vote for him. And both sides require that fantasy. And what we truly have is a fucking neolib. We're every time we're just choosing between neolibs and fascists.
Remember when he said he was going to be the? Or remember when they said he was going to be the next FDR?
Yeah. His stimulus check bullshit is all the evidence you need that Joe Biden has no interest in spending a single goddamn dime.
Taking people off
Oh,
unemployment.
yeah. He's the one who kicked off the unemployment stuff, and I am blown away that the COVID eviction moratorium still exists. All I can think is the only reason why is because once that ends, people will just burn down the house they're in. Like, and we love private property. So anyway, yeah, if anybody's listening to this as we wrap up, like that's why this is the problem with Democrats. This is the problem with libs, and this is why people like Jordan and I are not rejoicing. Is because we are just looking at a delay of the inevitable. And if you are not a privileged white male in America, that delay doesn't help you. And it's actually fundamentally harmful. Cops are still slaughtering people constantly and no one fucking cares. We're dumping all of our money that could be going to healthcare and education and fucking housing reform into Ukraine. this is what the Democrats do. Like, I'm not going to cheer that now children in Yemen get blown up by DNC bombs. This isn't good. And the only people it helps are people who are already in great positions of privilege. So fuck your Democratic Party.
Fuck you, Democratic Party. Woke imperialism sucks. Corporate feminism sucks. And neoliberalism is bullshit.
Yep. So talk to your fucking coworkers and remember that, and start unionizing. Start talking about class consciousness. Start talking about what the police are doing. Do not be afraid to oppose imperialism, even if you see fucking Ukrainian and Israeli flags everywhere. Like, don't be afraid of what your neighbors think. Stick with your conscience. Stick with what's right, and remember that human lives are on the fucking line, and you can actually be the difference in the world. It's not all doom and gloom. You can be the light in it. Read some fucking good propaganda for once. Talk to your fucking neighbors. Talk to your coworkers. Just start talking to your fucking coworkers about how much your boss sucks. Start talking about your wage. Start comparing your paychecks. A woman of color, compare your paychecks to a white man in the same position. Start taking a peek at that. Remember to lie on your resume. They don't check it. Like, remember, this quiet quitting bullshit. No, do not do work that you're not being paid for ever.
Pick up your zines. Take your PTO. Don't take shit from your boss.
Yeah, and go give blankets to unhoused people, and join and go volunteer at a food bank or a soup kitchen. And there's a million things you can do to make the world a little bit brighter, and it has nothing to do with fucking voting. Fuck the DNC. Voting blue does not do anything. You have the ability in your own hands for free to make the world around you a better place. And start finding like-minded people like you and get together. Join collectives. Do it all. It's all online. You can do anything you want, from activist stuff like joining John Brown gun clubs, or socialist rifle associations, or again, volunteer to go feed unhoused people. There's a million things you can do to make the world better. Go ahead and do it. Jordan, thank you for being here. I love you to pieces, and we'll have you on as always. And I'm sure people will hear us on the 805 too.
Thank you. Love you guys.
And remember to take care of yourselves and take care of each other. The revolution is you.